So it was my first SDR role. So I had no idea what it was. I really didn't know what my career progression was going to look like. So started, and ultimately within 3 months, I was let go. And it was really because I hit quota the first 2 months, but that was a ramp, and then wasn't able to attain for the last 3. You don't make your numbers, there's going to be somebody that can replace you.
I am thrilled for another episode of Tales from the Field with my wise, wonderful, thoughtful little sister, chaos, all around powerhouse, Kelsey. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you.
For the folks that are listening, who are you? What do you do? Why are you here? What's going on?
So my name is Kelsey Calabro. I'm a CSM, enterprise CSM at Dooley by day, and by night, I own my own ghostwriting agency for writing for tech C-suites in SaaS. So I do both those things. And here I am with Amy Volas. Excited.
For those of you that have listened on more than one occasion, you know what's next. Kelsey, you're in the sales game. In sales, it is a journey. Sometimes we stumble, sometimes we fall, but I find that in those moments, that's when we tend to learn and grow the most. So as you think back on your career, what is one of your biggest stumbles and how did you recover? Let's walk through it.
I'm going to take you back to 2017. This was one of my earlier sales fails, but it was a big one. I would say it scarred me for quite a while. It was getting fired from one of my biggest tech companies. It was a big tech company based out of Seattle. It was a really unique opportunity. They are now one of the hottest tech unicorns in the industry. So this was 2017, I had started as an SDR there. I had this big dream my whole life of moving to Seattle. So I left a relationship of 3 years to do this transition. Within 2 weeks, find a place, find a job, and happens to be at this great tech company that's growing really fast. So it was my first SDR role. And I had no idea. It was kind of when SDR roles were starting to really make a pivot and a transition into tech. I really didn't know what my career progression was going to look like. So started, and ultimately within 3 months, 4 months, I was let go. And it was really because I hit quota the first 2 months, but that was a ramp, and then wasn't able to attain for the last 3. And, SDR roles are hard. You don't make your numbers, there's going to be somebody that can replace you. And that led me down the path to becoming a CSM eventually. But that was one of my hardest sales falls and failures.
I just want to crawl through and snuggle you up. So there's a lot of questions that I have.
Please.
To open up Pandora's box a little bit, and thank you for allowing me to do that. My first question is, why do you think it didn't work? So you go there, first 2 months, you're doing just fine. The last 3 months, you're not. Why?
Great question. I was thinking about this a lot before this podcast too, why I genuinely don't believe it worked out. And at the time, I don't think I would have classified this at all, but I do feel like at that point in my life, I was playing a bit of victim mentality. I wasn't given enough resources, or I wasn't being coached enough, or I didn't have enough history to know the process for being an SDR. I didn't have enough mentorship. So now looking back, I realize a huge part of that failure was really just me not being proactive enough and not owning the success enough, where now I was an SDR over at Gravy before. It was different. It's you build your own process. You have to take ownership. You have all the resources. So now looking back, it was just a huge failure in being able to see what I'd been given and be proactive and also understand the role better. It was just more for me, whatever training I've been given, if it wasn't helping me achieve my numbers, I was like, oh, well, they're not training me enough. Where it's really the complete opposite. It's what are you doing to own your success? So,
well, and I mean, there's two mindsets that I personally just can't hang with. One is being a victim and one is being entitled, because those two things ultimately ends up getting in the way of ourselves. That's really what it is. And nobody can want your success more than you. I think there's something, especially when you're just starting out, there's something about wanting everybody to show you what and how. And I grew up, we're in different generations. I grew up in the generation where it was sink or swim, figure it out. Right. You were weak if you asked for help or if you expected anything other than what you could create. And that's a blessing and a curse for a lot of different reasons. I'm curious, did you ask for help, or was this in your head? Were you thinking to yourself, they should be helping me? I don't have this resource. I don't have more of that. Did you fight for yourself or did you internalize it?
So I had been in sales before that role. So I knew like you also have to seek out the things that you don't know. And I came from a very different role at the time, which I was great at, but SDR was a big pivot. So I did have a lot of connection to resources, and I was lucky because we had a great team of like newbies as well. So people would be like, we need to practice cold calling. Let's all hop into an office and practice pitching for a couple hours, or do like pitch battles, or let's hop on the phone and give feedback. Like it was very collaborative in that sense, but I'm also a little like shy and restricted in those ways where I'm not good if I know you're listening on Live Call Studio. It's one of those things that's in my head. I'm not good when you're pinging me while I'm on Live Call Studio, or you're giving feedback while I'm on the phone with a prospect. So some of those things were definitely there and I was seeking them out. But at the time I was just like lacking confidence, lacking that onus to just like own it too and step into it on my own. But they were great. Like nothing they did was wrong. It was just the wrong role for me at the wrong time. And I didn't know how to ask properly for like, can I have like mentorship, or can I ask this person who's doing really, really well? Like, what are you doing? I wasn't thinking like that at that point.
One of the things you just struck a major memory with me. I will never forget when I was just starting out and I was a puppy. This is before any sort of listening technology existed. Mm-hmm. And the owner of the company was sitting next to me and I was having a call on pricing. And the person was asking me what our fee structure was. And I used the word about and I used the word around, and I could see his blood pressure. So I'm on the phone.
Yeah.
It's in video, but like, right, I'm on the phone and I just see him and he is like 10 different shades of crimson. Like just so I can tell I tripped a chord. He was super upset. It was not okay. And all of a sudden it was like he became a Post-it note factory. He's writing me notes like, you screwed up. You never use this. And in that moment, it completely derailed me.
Oh, yeah.
So I empathize and I understand, and I've been there where it's like in the moment, maybe you're not saying the right thing. Maybe you didn't handle it appropriately, but coaching right there live and in person, not really productive, or at least for me. So I feel you that way. You just brought up some of my own scar tissue. And I will tell you, when it comes to pricing, I will never use the word around or about ever again. Yeah, but you know what? Lesson learned.
Exactly.
Lesson learned the hard way, in a very mortifying way, but lesson learned. So when did you know that you had made a stumble?
I mean, at that organization at that time, like, and I would say the same for any really rapidly growing startup in that role specifically, is you don't have very much time to like, when you fumble, there's not much rope that you're given. They're like, you're replaceable, girl. Like, or boy, whatever. So you don't have much rope. So I think as soon as I realized like, oh no, I'm maybe not doing enough. And at that point I had been put on a PIP like at month 3. And once you get the PIP, you're like, your mentality is skewed. It's really hard to get yourself back there. I was in a really crazy spot with having moved to a new place and leaving a relationship and being in tech again. It was just a lot for me mentally at the time. So I knew very quickly. And then those last 2 months I was trying, but still like halfway out. So it didn't take very long. I wasn't shocked when I knew that it was coming. It was hard because it's the moment that you realize you didn't own it and you didn't try as hard as you could have. And it's maybe just also not the right role for you either.
Did the PIP inspire you to do more or better, or did it completely defeat you and deflate you?
A PIP for me is deflation. I don't think I'm rare in that, but for me, a PIP is immediately cause and effect. Like if I'm not doing well and there's a PIP, I feel like outcasted a bit. And again, that's like the victim mentality that I have to work through on my own, is being like, you're not outcasted. Like you're bringing this on. It's a business. You have to be providing, you have to be doing all the things. But for me, it's just a really hard place to come back from. It was tough.
I'm in the same camp. I'm anti-PIP. Yeah. Anywho, I'm curious, that's big. The way you described it, you're saying it still has that kind of like stain that brings up bad feelings. You didn't use that vernacular, but that's me for dramatic effect. And here you are and you're thriving. So how did you recover? What did you learn? The learning and the recovery, those two things are hand in hand. It doesn't necessarily mean that it happens at the same time, but I find that those are synonymous. So let's talk about the road to recovery and the lesson learned.
So the road to recovery for me was, at that point, I don't think I thought about it at all. I was like, I should look at maybe I'd be better in an account executive role, or I need something else. I don't want to leave sales. I don't want to pivot out of tech. I ended up moving back to Phoenix after a year. So it was trying to hone in, what am I good at and where do I need to be to excel? And over time, with every role that I took on and went after, like I would land an account executive job, like, okay, I'm pretty good at this, but I still feel like there's something missing. And then maybe it was, okay, maybe I need to try a different industry. Maybe we need to recover and try a different role in a different industry. So I have bopped around in that sense where it's like account executive, tried the SDR thing, but I always knew it was going to be account management or CS that was going to really allow me to thrive and be autonomous and have the structure and nurture my relationships with people, because it was also very similar to the role that I first had in sales that I did very well in. So throughout the last 5 years, it's really been holding on to, what company am I going for? Are they small? And is it working in tech still? Is it working as a CS? Is it account management? And trying to recover and find that role. So it wasn't until COVID that I was like, I know I'm ready for that. And I'm going to wait until I can find the company that's ready to be like, you don't have CS experience, but we trust you and we like you. And here you are. So that's how I ended up at Dooley. So that was the road to recovery.
Did you do something specific? Did you use a tool? Did you use a methodology? Did you do something in particular that helped you get real and right with yourself to understand maybe the front end sales side is not my jam? Maybe I'm really better suited for post sale and snuggling up to the customer that way. Was there something specific that you did that really anchored you to getting clarity?
So I took a break from tech for about 3 years because I was very burnt out. So when I took my break in tech, I pivoted to local business, which is where I ended up being like, I want to own a company someday. So that's how my agency came into play in 2020. And when I worked in local business, I worked for a flower shop and I was a biz ops manager. So I was running the store and doing all the things and working on designing retail shops with florals and interiors and everything, and getting to talk to people and like sell and do all these things and nurture relationships. And that's when I was like, it has to be similar to that in a tech environment. So that was my clarity, was working at the flower shop. And I was like so passionate about it and being like, I need to find a company that I can care about and then I can do a CSM or account management style. So that's how I started getting back to tech. COVID happened and I was like, that's goal one. Goal two is to start a company. And luckily both have happened and they both give me the opportunity to do all of that every day. So it's been clear for a little while now.
I love it.
Yeah.
As we start to wind things down, what do you do now to avoid something like this happening again to you?
I think I'm hyper aware now of how replaceable everybody is. I don't want to say that in like a negative way. It's just like I really try now to bring consistent value. And one thing that Dooley has taught me really well is I can be kind of a perfectionist. And I think when you have a small business, it's less about perfection and more about iteration and just getting it out the door, and you iterate as you go. And that's one thing that has helped a lot, and just being like, I provide value, I can do things quickly, I'm here for a purpose. So I have a lot more value now and I try to provide it a lot more. And I think if I don't have answers or if I have a question, I'm like, I need your help. I need to steal time in your calendar. I have this thing I'm curious about, this thing I want to know about. So I just try to be much more curious now, with keeping in mind that like nothing is guaranteed. You're not set to work there for forever just because you landed the job. You got to keep it.
Do you feel like you're more clear on the signals of what's good for you and what's not so good for you?
Very much so. I will say now wholeheartedly, like with any company that I interviewed with before Dooley, and while I was transitioning like back out to the East Coast from Arizona, like I knew right away, it was a gut check. It was like, they want me to be an AE. I'm not going to be good at an AE at this type of environment. It would have to be CS or SDR. I'm like, immediately no. Like, so I do have a stronger gut check now with what's going to work for me and what's not. And I also have a little bit more balance because I have my agency that is backup for me too. So I feel confident in whatever direction that I go.
I love that. So you're showing up for yourself to take care of yourself. So for anybody that's listening, for all the things that we talked about, because there are a few lessons to take away from this chat, which I was hoping for. Thinking about that, if you had to sum up what we talked about, what's the one thing that you'd want anybody listening to take away from the lesson that you learned?
I would say advocacy and taking ownership of your success is your priority. It's nobody else's. So whatever that looks like for you, for me, it was not playing victim and owning that my career path is mine. That's my major takeaway. And it should be the same for everybody else too. Own it.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
That being said, so much love. Thank you so much. This, ladies and gentlemen, friends, Romans, countrymen, whomever it is that's listening, this is exactly what this show is about. And it really is in these painful moments. And we do open Pandora's box back open again, where we grow the most. And the whole goal here is to pay some of this stuff forward to get better together. So for anyone listening, I hope that this was helpful. Kelsey, I just think the world of you, and I really appreciate you trusting me to have this conversation out loud. And where can folks find you that may have some questions, may want you to do some writing for them, whatever the case may be? How do we find you, Kels?
How do you find me? Well, LinkedIn is going to be number one, Kelsey Calabro on LinkedIn. Also, my Twitter is very active these days for writing. So you can find me on Twitter. I have a website. It's hereticagency.co. You can check me out there as well.
There we go. Well, we've said it all. Well, maybe not all, but we've covered a lot. Dug in. I appreciate you. And until next time, everybody. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks for having me.
You've been in sales. I've been in sales. And in sales, it's a journey where we all have stumbled. And it is in these moments where we grow the most. So for anybody listening, I hope that this was helpful. This has been a Sales Feed production. If you're not familiar with all of the fun things that they have up their sleeve, check out salesfeedmedia.com.